another use case with satellites include doing surveys for sort of landslide areas where infrastructure is. So in this case, we've got a railway or railroad going through a landslide area. And what did actually happen a few years ago was a train did derail and cause quite a bad accident. And it was due to a landslide. And it happened here, in the sort of northeast of Scotland. And it was actually a very small landslide. If we just click on here, this is the track here. And this was actually the landslide here, so it was actually quite a small area, and that was enough to derail the train and cause quite a big accident. People that died on it as well, so it was really quite a bad and unfortunate accident given the size of the landslide as well. And so what we did is we did a case study on this after the accident, and what we found is that basically that where this accident had happened over here, it was actually within a landslide zone, as created by NASA at that point. So you can see this is where NASA's sort of point here, and this red line indicates like the coverage of that, and it's actually well within a landslide zone. And then we've got our railway going right past here. We also checked the moisture index for it to see if there was a lot of high moisture content. And there wasn't too much, surprisingly for Scotland. There wasn't actually too much in that area. It's not like this sort of midpoint in England where it's quite low and there's a lot of moisture, we'll say. And then if we come down here, we were also looking for what kind of rivers were around there, which could have partly caused the landslide as well. So this is our railway track going through here. This is our sort of landslide point. It's produced by NASA. And you can see this red point in the middle, that's where the accident actually happened. So here you can see like the rivers are basically quite far away from it and wouldn't have impacted this area as a sort of landslide, or wouldn't have impacted that landslide at that point. So then what we done is we done some other different types of surveys to have a look at how the landslide might have occurred or what other factors might have been happening there. And what we actually did find, so we done an aspect survey, a slope survey, we did quite a few of them, a hillshade survey, we did a roughness survey, and basically these are like surveys where we're trying to understand the surface type. So is it flat? So basically, are these surfaces flat? Are they steep inclines? Do they have basically lots of vegetation on top of them, or are they dry in some cases as well? And here, this is a vegetation one. So, like, how is the vegetation in this area? There's a lot of vegetation or a little bit of vegetation in this case. Let's just zoom in. So basically, purple is indicating that there isn't a lot of vegetation. And if you just zoom in here, you can see that it's actually in like a sort of purple zone there, where there wasn't a lot of vegetation in that particular point, which might come back to like this might be picking up on like this type of area, like this type of gravel type, which means it's looser and more prone to a landslide. And then if you take all of this information here, which is about like how steep are the slopes, how rough are the slopes, how much vegetation's in the slopes, how much and so if we combine all of that together, then we start to create sort of landslide zones where this might become a problem. And as you see here, we've combined all that data, and then we've created like a sort of risk zone. And this one's actually floating around 4 to 5. So that's basically a bit of a risky area in that sense. And not the riskiest, but it is an area to monitor. So particularly if you've got a railway that's kind of a railway line that's going right through it here, then you should actually just keep an eye on it because you're in a sort of high risk or medium risk area. We've got the methodology statement here. Some of the limitations of using the European Space Agency data, which is free data as well for these sort of projects, is so we could have done an INSAR to detect the movement of the ground surface changes, but basically the resolution isn't high enough to be able to detect a landslide that small, so you need to use paid for data instead of freely available data from like European Space Agency and NASA, for example. And yeah, so that's just another example of how you can use satellite data to understand different types of things that are happening in different industries. So in this case, landslides or the environment in which infrastructure is being built in and being placed in and should be monitored. This report is free actually. You can download that on our website as well. Um, cool. But yeah, that's it for me. Thanks for your time. I hope you find that interesting, and that's it. Cheers.